We have a lot of opportunities that a lot of the previous generations didn't have, one being the internet. And I know younger folks don't like hearing that. If I get up every day and I'm like, man, I'm a black woman, it's gonna be hard, it's gonna be this, then guess
Mhm.
what? It's gonna be hard and it's gonna be that.
Right.
But if I get up and I say, man, I'm a black woman, I got the juice, I got the sauce, I got the magic, people love it,
Yeah.
then that's the energy that I put out. And I feel like I'll get that back.
Why ain't I see you around back when I was down?
I mean, you as a African American female going
Mhm.
into business,
Yeah.
are you prepared for that and the hurdles that come with that?
Oh man, that's a good question. I'm
Uh-huh.
so glad you asked that. So it's and how I'm very fair. So when I was younger, I was a lot more militant. And, because he used to say that, like, man, you so militant. Cause I used to
Mhm.
read I was very
Mhm.
into
Hey, I know
Black
your mama,
history.
so
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like my mama had me reading these books. And
yeah.
don't get me wrong, I'm still that militant person. And I do understand, the systematic oppression that happens and that
No
has been
doubt.
going on for years. And, I understand how racism and oppression has transformed. However, in that same breath, it's 2023. We have a lot of opportunities that a lot of the previous generations didn't have, one being the internet. And I know younger folks don't like hearing that, but like I was just telling you when we was on my way over here, like even the criminals back in the day, like if they wanted to do something, they had to go to the library and research it. Like one of my best friends, her dad was a prominent criminal out of Chicago, it was in the newspaper, everything. He had to go to the library and research,
Yeah.
how to do these things. And, finding people to get the information that you needed was a lot harder and people could gatekeep a lot easier. Whereas now, you can get on Google, you can get on YouTube University,
Yeah.
you can do whatever it is you got to do to get the information. So what I do is I don't focus on being a black woman in business. And this is also why I got my partner. My partner is from Kenya. He's from literally a village in Africa.
Mhm.
And he now has been able to establish a successful, consulting company that is now starting to branch out. So, and he said the same thing. He said, I'm really big on your belief system. If I get up every day and I'm like, man, I'm a black woman, it's going to be hard, it's going to be this, then guess
Mhm.
what? It's going to be hard and it's going to be that.
Right.
But if I get
Mhm.
up and I say, man, I'm a black woman, I got the juice, I got the sauce, I got the magic, people love it,
Yeah.
then that's the energy that I put out. And I feel like I'll get that back.
Mhm.
And I feel like if there's always a will, there's going to be a way.
Mhm.
You got Black Wall Street, you had so many black people before this time that were able to establish wealth
Mhm.
before the internet, when racism was at its prime, when they was walking out seeing strange fruit for real. So if they can do it at that time, nothing is stopping me now.
Mhm.
So
And
that's how I
and
feel.
and and he and I speak about this all the time, because I do think that there's a lot of ownership that white folks have to take, and there's like a lot of white fragility and people
For sure.
not wanting to own shit, and you got to. But everyone has their work to do, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
Like we all
Absolutely.
have our work to do, and I think
Mhm.
that's kind of what you're hitting on.
Yeah.
So in my point of view,
Mhm.
I'm always taking it on where it's like, nah, it's not on y'all. We really got to. But
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
think that I hear a lot of on your perspective, like, nah, we got our shit to do too. And I
Yeah.
think people just need a clean house. Everybody,
Yes.
every
Everybody.
race, everybody should take
Mhm.
accountability for the
Mhm.
shit that even if
Accountability.
yeah,
Yeah.
even if you feel like, well, that ain't on me necessarily,
Right.
but I benefit from the effects of
Mhm.
Yeah.
the systemic racism. I mean, that's true. Like
Yeah.
for me,
Mhm.
my family, they came from Italy in the 1900s, early 1900s. So it's
Mhm.
like,
Mhm.
yeah, we weren't around for a lot of that shit,
Yes.
but we did profit off of it.
Right.
And we did benefit off of that. And he
Yes.
knows, like I've caught gun cases and shit. And I
Mhm.
was going through one since
Yeah.
we've been friends. And I told him, I called him on the phone, said, I'm playing the white card.
Yeah. Real
Like,
shit.
and he said, shit, I'll play that motherfucker if I had it too.
Exactly.
So I
Real
mean,
shit.
you got to understand that
Yeah.
that is the country we live in,
Yes.
and it's shitty. And like on our end, we got to take our accountability as white folks. I'm talking to y'all, white folks.
Mhm.
Like we have to take our accountability, and if I think more people clean house and just own their own shit, then we can try to move forward like
No.
as humans. Hopefully,
Yeah.
I have interracial
Exactly.
children, so I'm
Exactly.
always hopeful that it's like I
Yes.
hope. Now
Mhm.
they came out very fucking white, but their mom is Puerto Rican and black, so they
Uh-huh.
will have the benefits probably through life
Mhm.
of white privilege because they look like me.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But I still hope for their cousins and their family and our family
Mhm.
collectively that it's like
Mhm.
we could try to move forward, but
They
whew,
will. And I think
sometimes.
it's a good balance. I mean, I think especially with that's one thing I do like about social media. I mean, it has a lot of flaws, but that is one thing I like is the availability of information and the
Mhm.
availability of just people being transparent. I mean, you scroll on TikTok, you have so many white people that are relaying Black history I didn't
Mhm.
even know, and telling Black people, hey, this is what my family, like, you said, like, this is what my family was able to, reap the benefits of. This is the
Mhm.
the generational wealth we've been able to establish. And all of that is important. I feel like you said everybody has their part to play,
Yeah.
but the thing is, and I've said this and they probably had dragged me, but oh well, but I told my friend this because I have unpopular opinions. It is what it is.
So we
But
all do.
I said, exactly, right?
Yeah.
I said, but think about this though. I said, let's go off of Black people and the beliefs that they have now. You talk to your average Black person, they'll tell you, like, man, we was kings and queens and everything came from us, the pyramids, and this and that, right? Okay, so I'll roll with you on that. But imagine if white men had sat back and been like, man, you know what, Karen? I can't do it. They're tall, they're big, they're building these pyramids, they're on these horses, they're going around killing everybody, they're so big and strong. Karen, I can't do it. I need your help. White people wouldn't be in a position of power that they was in today too. So you see what I'm saying? If we're just going
Yeah.
off of that logic.
Mhm.
So that's the same mindset that I just have. Like, I don't have time to worry about like, oh, what they doing over there, what law has passed for this, or what, not saying that isn't important,
Mhm.
but it's just that I'm so just laser focused on the goal. And then when I get there, that's when I can say, okay, I can turn around and say, okay, now I can open up the doors for more
Mhm.
people, provide more spaces, more platforms,
Mhm.
That's what this
for
guy say
people.
about me all the time.
For
He
real.
said, "Man, you a dude that walk through the door. They just don't realize who coming in behind you."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I might crack that bitch open and be like,
Yeah.
sorry,
Yeah, no,
we
real talk.
we in here
Yeah.
now.
My
Real
name is
talk.
Rachel.
Yeah, and
I'm
that's why
fluid.
I've always commended him because he does do that.
Mhm.
He'll use his, like you said, he'll use his whiteness to get in there,
Mhm.
but to a large extent, they don't realize that they let a nigga in. You know what I mean?
I
Yes.
Because you didn't see what was coming, who was waiting in the parking lot for him to get in,
Exactly.
who he calling.
Hey,
Like, hey, come on, hey, J-Bone, yeah, we
Yeah.
in this bitch. They gon'
it's been 2+ decades of me kicking these motherfucking doors
Yeah,
open and trying
no,
to
real
get shit
shit.
cracking.
Real
We've
shit.
always had allies, even in
Yeah.
slavery. That's how the when you look, and even if you look at when people was getting away, the Underground Railroad system, it took a lot of white people for that to happen as
Mhm.
well.
Mhm.
So it's a blessing.
Speaking of which, you said your partner's from Kenya. How tapped in are you with your African roots? Because people don't know she's about what? So it would be
25,
half, 25%
25%
Nigerian.
Nigerian, yeah,
Yeah.
by way of my mother.
Yoruba.
Yeah. Nadibo, Yoruba.
Yes. Thanks to your mother, who is 50%.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
50% Nigerian and 100% Black.
Right.
Y'all gonna
you
get yourself in trouble.
I know, right? I know. She it was same thing, like as you get older, you just look back on your life. But I really appreciate that, especially being, African American, African Black, whatever you want to call it. Because yeah, a lot of people and it's funny because mom used to tell me that too when I was younger. She said, your roots is right there. You ain't gotta go search, you ain't gotta hunt, you ain't gotta, go on 23andMe, nothing. Like your roots are right there. And as I've gotten older, most definitely, like I appreciated that. And it really just plays to everything that I've said too as well. Like watching, my grandfather, it's the Midwest. We all lived in the same house for a minute. And, watching my grandfather go out and work the way he did. And I remember you told me this too when I was younger. You said, man, I don't know if you even remember, but I
Mhm.
remember it was one time you said, man, if this was like 10, 20 years from now, grandpa would be a CEO
Yeah.
of a big company because, my grandfather, he was from Lagos, Nigeria. He was highly educated, had umpteen degrees.
Mhm.
But that he came to Kansas City at a time when racism was
Mhm.
really prevalent. Like you really was not getting, you were overqualified
He
if
was
you was
overqualified a
qualified.
lot. Yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So, but watching him saying like, grandpa would definitely, he would let he could definitely acknowledge obviously his lived experience of
Mhm.
racism. Like you got 2 master's degrees, a bachelor's degree, you picking fruit.
Mhm.
However, still within that, he was still able to, raise a family,
Mhm.
raise grandkids,
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
of nowhere, buy a house, pay off a
Yeah.
house, and, establish some type of foundation for the family, even with all the trials and tribulations. And people don't understand this too, like, even going back to just working in jobs. And this is also what, really drives me. And also being an entrepreneur, like my grandfather's fingers got cut off working a job,
Mhm.
And, that's a pain that I know up until the day he passed away, rest in peace. That was something that, you look down and you have this reminder every day of
Mhm.
like the sacrifices that you made. So, and then, how grandpa was,
Yeah.
like he was no
Yeah.
nonsense.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
he's an old Capricorn. Like
Yeah.
he was a no nonsense, like no excuses, like rain, sleet, snow, or hail. He was walking out that door and coming back. So, seeing that too growing up,
Yeah.
it definitely like it added to the grit.
Yeah, I think about grandpa often because it's funny because as I got older, I would tell your mom he became one of my favorite people.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's so funny because of course, naturally, early on, he ain't want no parts of me. You know what I
He's a
mean?
hoodlum.
I was a hoodlum. He wasn't fucking with me. But it's funny because he became my father figure.
Hmm.
That's crazy. So he was actually, I mean, no shade to my dad, to
Hmm.
Courtney, but grandpa was my father figure.
Hmm.
That's crazy how those dynamics work. But yeah, but what I always appreciate, I remember one time when I was still in high school, he took me home, because I used to come over and see you and your
Yeah.
mom when I was still in high school. I had no car. And he would take me home, and I remember him telling me, he said, I want to apologize to you. I didn't give you a chance to walk with you and get to know you. And that was his way. But it
Talk
was,
with you.
yeah, 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 yeah. It was a sweet gesture though, but he always embraced me like a son, so I
Hmm.
always felt like I made him proud, which was always,
Yes.
fulfilling, you know what I mean?
Yes.
I'm holding court, it's standing trial. Why ain't I see you round back when I was down? Karma's on the way. What goes around comes around, karma's on the way. There's nothing you could do now, you gotta pay.